Charlie, you have the first question.
My first question for you is, you mentioned that you want to ensure there's sufficient funding. So we all know that there's only limited resources that are provided to us by SAO and SFSS, as well as their sponsorship. So what can you do exactly, or do you hope to do, in order to actually ensure there's more funding so that BAS can actually grow?
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to talk about this year's exec council. I believe that through SAO and all those other sources, I want to maintain good relationships with them. But at the same time, I believe that we can take the next step. For example, for this year's council, we introduced a fundraising committee. I believe that that's a valuable resource for us. We can do more events in order to get more funding for BAS. And I will look for other opportunities, whatever ways I can find, to ensure that we have sufficient funding.
Does that answer your question?
For now, yes.
Are you next? So you mentioned good relations with the SFSS. What would that look like if you haven't already answered it?
Well, basically to ensure for good relationships, I mean, basically keeping on top of what I'm doing at all times. And this means that, like, communication wise, just listening to them and offering my opinions, of course, and just things like that, and through email or other ways of communication.
Next question is
okay. You mentioned that you'll improve the louder. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you'll improve the financial structure for BAS. I just want to know how specifically are you going to do that?
I believe that I've had a chance to talk to some of the execs from this year's team. I believe that we have a strong structure, but you can make changes. For me personally, if something works, I don't want to change it because I don't see the point. But I believe that there's still room for improvement. For example, one of the things that we could do is, in order to keep track of the money, is using things such as spreadsheets and making sure that everyone in the exec council has access to that and getting their opinion on what could be done better and stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
Okay, next question is Brock.
I believe the VP Finance position should be more of an information position. So this would include documentation, policy. Sometimes we don't always have the clearest policies in place. So if you agree with this assessment, how would you start to implement some of these components into your position?
Well, this means I'll be working closely with the Director of Administration in order to make sure that the policies that I've set in place, they're in the best interest of the SFU students. Because one of the main reasons for me taking this position is to enhance the student experience. So I want to make sure that I work closely with the President and everyone on the Exec Council to make sure that the policies are all agreed upon. And I want to work closely with the Director of Administration to get proper documentation of it and always have that connection, the communication, the feedback.
Horace, so you mentioned that you wanted to keep a good relationship with SFSS by communicating, sending emails, and whatnot. What kind of advantages do you think that will bring to VP Finance, and do you think those advantages are realistic?
I believe it's great because for BAS, in order to improve the BAS brand, I believe that we need to maintain good relationships with everyone in the university. And SFSS it's important to BAS, in my opinion, because like I said, I've worked as a Director of Finance with Block, and working as a Director of Finance, I find that it's really good to have that relationship so that there's a trust factor, and I believe that it'll be good for BAS branding.
Charlie.
So you mentioned a lot about the next step. What in terms of the next step do you have or in store for BAS?
Okay, in terms of expanding the portfolio, I believe that we can have other things such as for this year we had IBCC. It could be case competitions and it could be other events. I want to bring forward some ideas that recognize BAS as one of the main student bodies in Canada. So I want to bring things like that, such as case competitions and other things as well.
Do you want to expand the current portfolio?
Yeah.
What is the largest budget you've had under your portfolio?
Working as a director of finance for BLA, to be honest with you, not that big, but I believe that I'm reliable enough and responsible enough to keep track of everything. For BLA, I've done budgets for about $200 to $300. So, but I realize that for BAS it's a lot bigger than that, but I feel that I'm ready for the next challenge.
Okay, so we're gonna cut the camera for now. We will still keep going with the questions.